I got some into it, some debates on Twitter here these last few days regarding gender stuff, and we were talking about bees. I know this is like kind of off topic, but it's kind of tangential too, and you'll see why in just a minute. And about bee reproduction in general. It's I don't know. There's a level of incredulity here that I don't even know how to begin to explore, right? There's a level of incredulity that, damn it, I'm trying to find it so I can read it. So I was explaining nanny bees to these chuds. Let me see if I can get this to share properly. There we go. And we were talking about sex, and that sex is bimodal, not binary. Let's share that. So here is the sex diagram, and the person brought up bees of all things to me. Maybe specifically because I had a bee or a wasp. My logo is actually a hornet. All right. Yeah. Specifically, I had an artist make it for me. It's a hornet. It's commissioned work. Very much, and so maybe that's why they came at me with bees. They said, "So you're saying that bees are? You're saying that bees are non-binary, and you're saying that bees have a third sex?" And I said, "No, bees are dihaploid." And I'm trying to find it. Dang it! Why does this? It gets buried. It gets buried in the arguments I get into. You never know how it's going to go down. And most of this stuff I do from memory. I don't like letting chuds push me into doing research. So they were arguing that because the queens lay the eggs and the males produce the sperm, that the bees' sexual reproduction was binary, right? So the claim is that what I have up here on the screen demonstrates a binary system of reproduction, and I'm seeing bimodal here 100%. You have this. What's on this diagram is called a worker. There's a caste that there's a few non-reproductive castes that fill different roles, and the person didn't understand that these roles are not just a job. It's not just, oh, you're assigned to do this job and you're assigned to do that job. They're actually a biological role that these individuals play, whether they're a nanny bee or a soldier or a forager. They're different. They're not all the same. They're distinct. They're not the ones that has worker on the image right here. Worker covers all of those groups. They're all workers. Some work as nannies. Some work as foragers. Some work as some work as, yeah, what did I say? Soldiers, foragers, nannies. There's other ones too that do certain like harvesting and production tasks within the group too, within the clade. Now, when you get into greater Hymenoptera, that's encompassing all what we would traditionally call wasps. But you have to understand when you talk about that bees and ants are both wasps. They're both types of wasps. No making any mistake about it. The term Hymenopteran is synonymous with wasp. And the clades that exist within that include bees and they include ants. In the same way that the clade that includes cockroaches includes within it, nested within it, termites. So termites are a type of cockroach. In the same way, ants and bees are a type of wasps. So are hornets, thread waste wasps, mud daubers, all these different clades. And some of them are closer related to what we would call an ant than they are to other groups of wasp. Some are closer related to bees than they are to other groups of wasp. We distinguish bees by they're a monophyletic clade of herbivorous wasp that live off of. There's different kinds of bees. Not all bees are living in giant hives. Like some live in like pairs. For real, they don't all have huge family groups like domestic honeybees do. A lot of them do, but not all of them. Now, ants are specifically a monophyletic clade of largely fossorial or underground wasp. Largely flightless underground wasp. Now, some things that we call ants aren't even closer related to other groups of wasps than they are to the actual groups that we would call ants, in layman's terms. So it gets really complicated here, but let's just to keep it simple. They all follow this basic outline of reproduction here, and this is important because what I'm talking about, I had something completely different on the floor for the topic of the day. Right, I was going to cover a new person. I will get to them, don't worry. But AJ, ATS Jr., called me out and said, hey, you need to respond to this. And it came into my thread because while I'm having these arguments on Twitter about bee reproduction with gender critical people, and again, this was used to assert that I was claiming, because they said that I was claiming there's a third sex. When they asked me if there's a third sex, I said no, it's like this, and showed them this and how it was bimodal. And how that system worked, and they were insisting that I was claiming this was a third sex. I was like, and they kept wanting me to say that there was either 2 or 3 sexes. And oh my goodness, I'm like, no, that's not how it works. It's not this or that. There are variables and factors, especially within hymenopterans. It gets really wild. In hymenopterans, there's a clade of ants where an entire caste, biological, their morphology, their biology is that they're born to hang from the ceiling and hold water. That's all they do. They look like grapes hanging from the ceiling because their abdomen swells up with fluid and they hang from the ceiling. That's their entire life. They don't do anything else. They look really bizarre. When it comes to driver ants, some of the ones that have left that fossorial habitat because they're super aggressive, they have individuals that most of the individuals, like a huge percent of the population, like I know it'd be over 90% of the population, is building block individuals. Their job is they just follow the chemical trail of the one in front of them and basically take orders from the one in front of them to form their body into a bridge or a mat or a ladder. That's what they do. That's all they do. So it gets really complicated. And are they sexes? No, they're not sexes. But when it comes to the nanny bees, when it comes to the nanny ants, the ones who fill this biological role in the colony, they are filling a reproductive role. They are part of the process. The queen lays an egg. The nannies decide how many chromosomes it has. They decide what role it's going to fill, because they're not just picking queens and workers. They create foragers. They create soldiers. They create water balloons hanging from the ceiling. They have all sorts of wild anatomical features to help them to function and thrive in an environment. So yeah. Anyway, let's get over here to this, because I've rambled enough about that. We're going to go into this whacking atheist thing. So he's talking about. Oh, did I lose it? Got him turned way down. Hold on.
So far they haven't answered them. Randall, have you seen any answers to my making baby? Come on, you atheists and evolutionists. You believe everything evolved. Give a scientific answer.
I'm giving a scientific answer to this question right now, Kent. So listen. Okay? I just gave a rant about ant reproduction and hymenopteran reproduction in general just before this. Please make sure you absorb that too. That's a preamble to responding to this. So I did, Kent, take steps to make this I don't know, fair, I guess. Let me see here. He always puts himself on the side of the screen where I put my chat at. Let me see if I can't flip him or something. Hold on. I don't know. He's the only one who does this too. Everybody else puts himself in the middle and either has this up here or up here. I do tend to lean to one side on mine too, but I'm little one down in the corner. And when I put my whole thing in the middle, and that way if I'm on one side, it doesn't matter. Him being on one side of the screen like this is problematic for me. So let me do, here's what we'll do. We're just gonna, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but we're just gonna shrink him on down. Shrink him on down. Shrink him on down. Hold on, I thought I saw something about nannies maintain the environment. They create the world and keep it. Exactly. Good grief. Richard, you know you're my favorite person who identifies as a Christian. Like, not any shade against my other Christian friends. I got lots of them. But you're my favorite. Yes, the nanny bees maintain the environment that they develop in. They control how they develop. They tend to the eggs so that they develop in a certain direction. They feed the developing larvae so that they develop into whatever caste they're supposed to fill. That includes anatomical features developing differently. It's not even it's a genetic process. We're very familiar. The way that humans reproduce is very different. All right, let's let Kent go though.
How did this happen? Let's see. The anglerfish, the tardigrade, the honeybee. They didn't answer any of them. The watermelon.
I will go back and talk about the honeybee again. I did talk about the honeybee just there. If you missed it, like rewind about what was it, guys? About 15 minutes. I rambled for a long time. I know it was boring and there was something boring up on the screen. When I do produce this with, I produce this live or the direct to video or whatever, I'll probably put some slides in there because I wasn't prepared as well about doing it for this part this morning, because again this was just it was premiered last night. So about the ant babies making babies ants. Yeah, this just released last night, so I had to scramble. So I didn't have slides prepared, but I will have them when this comes out, when this releases officially. So keep your eye out for that.
How did that do it? The starfish, the praying mantis, the mudskippers, the beavers, the frog. Tonight, the ant.
All right, let's Frida's ant thing, because we're going to focus on ants today. I might go back and go through these. It'll be fun. My creator made me. If you think I evolved from nothing for no reason with no designer, you need to go back to school and learn some real science. So, Ken, I was just watching, we just listened to Matt here at the beginning talking about that natural selection indicates that it's not random or for no reason. They're choosing. The organisms choose. They make decisions. They're not automatons. They're choosing to reproduce. Only the ones that choose to reproduce. So those are the ones in the population, right? Let's see here. Tonight we will study a few of the hundreds of species of ants and how they make babies.
I'm an ant. My creator made me. If you think I evolved from nothing for no reason with no designer, you need to go back to school and learn some real science. Yeah. Tonight we study a few of the hundreds of species of ants and how they make babies. It'll blow your mind.
Ooh, what do we got here? I see some polyphyletic and paraphyletic representation here. I'm not going to be too hard on him. Kent is not a ecologist or an entomologist. Thinking to be on his crew is either. These are common names, and yeah, some of them are polyphyletic, and some of them are paraphyletic. Fire ants is one that stands out to me the most. A Dracula ant, that's pretty cool. We got green-headed ant, electric ant, Saharan silver ant. Yeah, so African driver ant. I don't know why he didn't use one of the ones with the big monster heads there. That would have been cool. This image makes it look like the Dracula ant has a bigger head and mandibles than the driver ant. The driver ants are the soldiers for the driver ants are the big bads of the ant kingdom. They're the final boss if you're like battling ants. They're the ones that they're the only ants that are recorded killing people. So, I mean, not like well people, but people who can't get out of their way because they make those columns and they just destroy everything. Any animals, people, babies that get in their way. So you elderly person laying in their place and the window gets left open and they come in, they will eat that person or that baby.
Ants are amazing. Anyway, subscribe to our channel, please, and tell others about us. Just send them, say, watch this one, and then they'll get hooked and want to watch them all. You can help us to open for free at Dinosaur Adventureland. Join our 777 Club. Say, I like what they're doing. I want to support them. Go to drdino.com if you can. Give $1 a day. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, who calls himself Ra, the sun god. Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, speaking of Ra, that's one of my things that I was talking about. Oh, I might be so busy in January. I got something going on with Aaron. I've told a few people about it. I don't want to say anything yet until he says something about what it's about, but we're collabing. It's really awesome. I complimented his snake evolution series, and yeah, then he approached me about doing something with me. So, yay!
666 people to support his atheism channel. $1 a day.
$1 a day for the 666 Club. I always thought I didn't think the 666 Club was Aaron's though. I thought that was another creator that did that. I could be mistaken.
666. Great idea. Let's do 777 for the Lord. Okay. So you can join us if you would. Send $1 a day. Make any checks to CSE, which is Creation Science Evangelism. Okay. God ought to get the glory for his creation. We are straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. It'd be nice to be a little further south right now today, but oh well. Of course, in the summertime.
Oh, sweetie, you don't even know what cold is. My kitchen sink's not working right now because the pipe's froze in the wall. I hope it don't burst. Yeah.
It's nice to be right here, but I want to get it 200 degrees down there. Anyway, we're a Baptist church camp, a creation ministry, and a lot of fun around here. A few miles off I-65. Stop in. There's our science center. We give tours give a tour today. That was chilly.
When do you
I had to
stop
keep the Honda
advertising?
under
You just
100.
mix
I
the
couldn't-
advertisement
windshield
in with
was
the
so
whole
bad.
thing.
Okay.
Yes, we've all seen Dinosaur Adventureland. We even, in my community, we even talked about getting a group together to go down and visit Dinosaur Adventureland and see what it's all about. See what all you have. So let's move forward. I get it. You have all this stuff. I don't think any of us will be bringing children if we come. So we don't need like the playground or anything like that. Unless it's an adult playground, I guess we could do that. But yeah, I'd like to. We've talked about like Godless Granny and Atheist Junior. A few people have discussed it. The Raging Atheist. We've talked about it. Coming to Lenox, Alabama, and seeing what's down there. So I'll let you know.
The real tour, the science center tour, the farm tour, the playground. You have a singing group, come on down, sing.
We do not have a singing group. I bet we could probably all get together and sing if you give us enough drinks, though. You get us inebriated, we'll probably do some karaoke for you. I will probably sing something by No Doubt badly, and you probably will be offended by my dancing.
For us here, all kinds of cool science experiments. We have two of the atheist's worst nightmares.
Oh, honey, no. Didn't you just hear all the bad things that are the wrong things that Matt just laid out there in his air quote video? Like everything he said there was like factually incorrect. It's like not even a question.
Mayor's living here. Actually 3 with Damien. Okay, 252 baptized so far. And get our creation seminar series and our What on Earth series and come join us. Okay, the Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Wait, what? Consider her ways? Solomon wrote this 1000 BC.
So you don't think that people that lived a very pastoral life, tending to their flocks and their herding their cattle and their goats and living out spending a great deal of their time out in a agricultural or pastoral lifestyle, right? That they, over that time that they had, yes, I twerk. Maya, you want to see me twerk? Just give me some drinks next weekend. I'm going to be hanging out with Maya next weekend. So, yeah, go to the ant or whatever. Have no guide or overseer or ruler. That they would pick up on the fact that these ones were female and these ones were male. Just over generations of living with them, living alongside them, and seeing how they live. Sometimes you can. Sometimes they'll build you don't have to have an ant farm. Sometimes they'll build a colony like under a stone. And you can just lift the stone up and check on them. And then put the stone back. And then next weekend, go back out there and take the stone up and look at them again. You can spend hours watching them and then put the stone back. And you can learn a whole lot about ant culture that way. I certainly did as a kid. I think a lot of us did. And I don't imagine that it's too far-fetched to think that the people in the biblical times did the same. Probably more, because they didn't have distractions like TV and my smartphone and YouTube, and there wasn't a lot to do. They probably spent hours watching ants or bees, or they watched their cattle, obviously. While you're out there in the field. Yeah.
Before the microscope was invented, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How did Solomon know all the worker ants are female? Maybe that book was inspired by God,
because the males are very distinct in ants, very distinct in most hymenopterans. That's how they say, okay, the males look like this, the females and the queens and they all have these homologies together. So they, yeah.
It claims to be.
Weird question.
The anatomy of an ant is amazing. They have a little tiny midsection called the petiole. Everything hinges on that. How on earth does this thing not snap in half? Ant.
Well, that's, and see, there's another fantastic species that's very unique. Look at that, is that they have like this hinged petiole where they can so they can swing around and do like ladders and stuff.
You can just study ant anatomy the rest of your life. There's an atheist or an evolutionist website from Wikipedia. Ants are Euro-social insects.
Hold on, let's see that. Hear that again.
Anatomy the rest of your life. There's an atheist or an evolutionist website from Wikipedia. Ants are Euro-social insects.
Eusocial, not Eurosocial. Hey, Big Bad Mama, we just talked about you just like 20 minutes ago. I think it was about 20 minutes ago. No, more like a half an hour ago. We did one of your air quote videos from Matt Powell. But yeah, it's eusocial, not Eurosocial.
So the family
Formicidia. There's like formic acid.
Today. And along with related wasps, you don't know they're related to wasps and bees. Come on.
Yeah, we do. We know that some ants are related closer to wasps than they are to other ants. You think there's only one kind of ant, but why are maybe you could say that there's only one kind of hymenopteran? If you want to say hymenopteran's a kind, that'd probably be a better argument for you. Just based on the fact that the way we classify them as people based on anatomy for hundreds of years, that once we started looking at their genetics and realizing how they were, some of these clades were paraphyletic and some were, again, polyphyletic, and we needed to narrow it down to make them all line up. When I hope I'm not losing you guys when I use the term paraphyletic, polyphyletic, and monophyletic. If I am, let me know, and I'll try to be more detailed about it. But within evolution, I'll stick with this. Within evolution, there's something called the law of monophily. That means that you never outgrow your ancestors, that you're always what your ancestors were. By the law of monophily, I am a hominid, which if you use layman's terms is generally synonymous with ape. So I am an ape. I am a platyrrhine. Or no, I mean catarrhine. I'm not a platyrrhine. It'd be weird if I was a platyrrhine. I'm a catarrhine. So I am an old world monkey. I am a primate. I am a mammal. You know, I am a tetrapod. I am a vertebrate, and so on and so forth. So you never outgrow your ancestry, right? So within clades, if it's polyphyletic, it means that. So if you were to say that, no, Bree, you're not a hominid or you're not an ape because people are excluded, or hominid, or Homo, the genus Homo is excluded from that classification. So then you take a group that's nested within there and pull them out and put them and separate them into their own group. That's polyphyletic. That's where you're splitting it, where there's actually no reason for convention to remove one group from the clade. And you'll see it done with things like apes specifically, I guess, is where we'll see it. Like they'll be removed from monkeys. Oh, apes are not monkeys or something along those lines, which is quite strange to me. I had a discussion with Monkey for Banana about that a while ago. There's some different ideologies on that. But let's get back to hymenopterans because they have an advanced, complicated cladistic history that has really started to get more lined out as we get more into mapping genomes and stuff. All right, let's
guys, knock it off, okay? They belong to the order Hymenoptera. Ants evolved from ancestors, from a wasp. Yeah, you can see the similarity.
Right.
In the Cretaceous,
You can see the similarities. I could show you. We could do like a question quiz of, is it a wasp or is it an ant? We could do like a slideshow of that, Kent. I would love to get together with you and do that. There's special ways to tell the difference between ants and wasps because there's so much alike. You'd be surprised.
period, there are 22,000 species of ants have been classified. I see. 22,000 different species of ants. They might have had a common ancestor called an ant.
Nope. Some of them had. They're polyphyletic. The term ant is polyphyletic, and yeah, they all have. Some of them have different common ancestors that are different kinds of wasps.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe God made a variety of ants to start with. He can do that too, you know. One or two small bumps between the thorax and the abdomen, the petiole, that little bitty spot right there. And all their breathing, their circulation, their strength of their body, of course that's in the exoskeleton, all goes right through there. They swallow the food, has to go through that itty bitty tiny spot. Wow. An ant colony is mostly made up of female ants. Worker ants are all sisters, and they have a mother queen. Male ants.
Sort of, they're sisters. They're more like clones. Yeah, they're more like clones. There's not a lot of genetic diversity between one to the other. Just whatever the nannies that are taking care of the baby ants, whatever they sculpt the developing larvae to be.
Ants are born only when a colony is ready to make more colonies. New queens are born then too. How do they know to do that at the right time of year? Who taught them?
They know because they're not the only things that are. They're not the only. Humans aren't the only organisms that are aware of the world around them, and have innate responses to them, and that are biological. Right? You know, there's natural drivers that we have because those are the things that were passed on from our ancestors. It's quite strange that you don't seem to grasp us, and it's quite strange that you post these pictures of the male and female with wings looking just like wasps here, and be like, oh, they're not wasps.
That evolved over millions of years, right? New queens are born. Both males and new queens are born with wings. These male ants fly and mate with the new queens. Their lives are very short because mating is their only job. How does the male ant know that's his only job and then he dies? Does he know after I mate with that girl I'm dying? Does he know that? Don't you think maybe he might skip that step if he knew? Yeah, okay. The harvester ant, let's see. Now, Randall, you wanted me to do just the harvester ant. I started off there, buddy, but I couldn't stay on it. It's amazing. How many ants are there in the world? 20 quadrillion. Million, billion, trillion, quadrillion. Big number, okay? 20 quadrillion ants alive today. 2.5 million ants for every living person. 20 quadrillion equals 12.
I'm okay with these statistics. I don't know what these big numbers is.
Megatons of carbon, which exceeds the biomass of all wild animals and birds combined. All the ants in the world weigh more than all the animals and birds combined. Whoa, who'd have thunk it? The 10 largest ants in the world. Well, let's see. This one's a pretty big one, the green ant in Australia. We got the black.
Was that an Australian accent? Was that an Australian accent, guys? It didn't really sound like one to me.
Carpenter ant coming in at number 6. Let's see. The carpenter ants, when they're disturbed, they bite and they put a chemical on you. The bullet ant looks pretty cool. But the giant.
You don't want to get bit by a bullet ant, though.
Amazonian ant. The giant Amazonian ant today, 1.5 inches long. That's a big ant. Okay. Well, that's nothing compared to what fossils. Let's see.
Here we go.
Giant ants the size of hummingbirds traversed during warm periods.
Okay, so it's funny, he puts the picture of the hummingbird over top of the wings. You would not call this an ant. You would not recognize this organism as an ant. You would not say that this was an ant of the ant kind. It was very different, but we know, based on its anatomical development and its place in the fossil record and the evolutionary process of hymenopterans of the waspier variety moving towards the fossorial lifestyle of modern ants, that this is in that slot right there. We know where this falls.
The size of a hummingbird, a 2-inch long ant, roamed Wyoming. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why would the fossil ants be bigger than today's ants? Ants 2 inches long. Well, see, the Bible teaches, and it's right on everything. The Bible says before the flood came, the people lived to be 900 years old.
Okay, so if people live to be 900 years old, how do you show that? How do you demonstrate that? Where is it evident in any record at all? Other than someone writing it in a book and saying it was true. Where do we find that in reality? Where do we find people, humans, living 900 years old? Where's the evidence that that was a thing that actually happened?
This is the age of giant everything. Giant reptiles called dinosaurs. They lived with Adam and Eve. They did not live millions of years ago. Okay? So after the flood, people only lived to be 400 for a couple generations. Then it dropped off to 200 and then down to 100. And today, hardly anybody makes it to 100. I'm going to do it or die trying. But okay.
Okay, so he's going to talk about griffin flies and make the false inference that they are dragonflies. So again, within your notion of kinds, unless you're saying that mayflies and damselflies and dragonflies are the same kind, then you can't lump griffin flies in here. But let's see what he has to say.
The largest dragonfly today, 6 inches. Big dragonfly.
Mm-hmm.
Fossil dragonflies are found 28 inches wingspan.
That's not actually a dragonfly, though. Look at his source. News. What's that? Xinhuanet? Is that like a Chinese news source? Maybe it was a translation error, but griffin flies are not dragonflies. Not at all. There's some very special anatomical features that an organism must have in order to be classified among the dragonflies, and griffin flies lack a portion on the front of their wings, so they are in a close related clade, but they're not actually dragonflies.
When was this? 300 million years ago. You tell Xinhuanet News they're insane. This is before the flood came. These giant creatures lived with Adam and Eve.
You came up with that link. What are you criticizing your own link for? I didn't use this as a resource. These people don't even know what a griffin fly is. Get better sources, babe.
Today, they said they're becoming smaller. No, everything's different after that flood. Watch my video series for more on that, right here.
Honey, you think I haven't watched your video series. You are one of the people that that kept me involved in this community. You and your proteges, people like Matt and Donnie, they keep me in the lulls. So yeah, I've watched your video series because I need to know that, but it's been regurgitated at me from about every direction, every inch of it.
Creation Seminar Series, we cover that in great detail in video number 2 and a whole lot more in video number 7. Okay, fossil dragonflies, 28-inch wingspan. Fossil spiders, 2 inch long with 12-inch.
Okay, so let's just make this clear right now. The fossil spider shown on the screen is nowhere near the size that he's talking about here. The spiders with the 12-inch leg spans are alive today. There's 2 species of spiders with that exceed or reach or exceed 12 inches. There's the Goliath bird-eating spider, which if you didn't catch it on Battle for Gaia last Sunday, go check that out because I did talk about the Theraphosa blondi, the Goliath bird-eating spider from the Amazonia. It's a Theraphosa. It's a tarantula, and it's the biggest spider in the world. And as far as body mass goes, it's the biggest spider that ever existed, and it lives right now. You can actually get them in the pet trade. You can own your own biggest spider that ever existed. The spiders shown in this slide here, the fossil spiders, are they're not small. They are big spiders. They're about the size of like modern orb weavers. So they are big spiders, but they're not quite as big as what we have today. Another giant spider is the giant huntsman, which lives in Southeast Asia and has a leg span of 12 inches as well. And both are a little bit bulkier than this, but the Theraphosa blondi is like orders of magnitude heavier than any spider, any fossil spider that we've ever found.
Leg span, just body 2 inches long, 12-inch leg span. Fossil beavers have been found 8 feet long. We got beavers right up the street here in our lake.
And it's funny that he has these depictions of beavers, and it's like, oh, they're just scaled up regular beavers. The fossil beavers, the giant beavers, did not live a lot. The beavers we have today are just a shadow of the diversity we used to have in that clade, right? Beavers used to be they used to fill a lot of different ecological roles. There was beavers that they weren't all dam building, lodge living organisms. Some of them lived in burrows. Some of them lived in marshy areas. The giant beaver here was not thought to be quite as aquatic as its smaller cousins. They're not even descendants, modern beavers. They're very different. It didn't have the big paddle tail. It did have a flattened tail, but it didn't necessarily have that skin covering. There's no evidence that they built dams or lodges like modern beavers do, at least not to the same scale. So, yeah, this is not just a scaled up version of modern beavers. Animals in the past, despite how they look, lived very differently, and we understand more than just, hey, these bones in the dirt like you seem to think. We know about the ecology they lived in, things that lived as recently as the giant beaver actually leave trace fossils too, and not just organismal fossils, but actually trace fossils of their presence in an environment as well.
Biggest beaver today is 2.5 feet. Let's see, fossil beavers 8 feet long. I think that's a big beaver. Fossil frogs, much bigger than today's frog. Google Beelzebufo.
Now you're getting way back into the fossil record, because this is like back in dinosaur days.
From Beelzebub. Let's see. Frogs back then and frogs now. What happened? See, they're always going to tell the kids.
See, it's just memes. This is just memes. There's no science here. He's just memeing about... I mean, I meme too, but I meme with science. This is just... The fungi is making me extinct. Oh, because it's talking about the amphibians dying off. So amphibians are a good gauge of environmental stress, because they have the permeable skin. They breathe through their skin. They absorb chemicals through their skin. So they're the first guys that get attacked and get by fungal infections and chemical pollution and things like that. So they're the first creatures that get that impact, unfortunately. That doesn't think that had anything to do with the demise of Beelzebufo, though.
It just was millions of years ago. That's how they hide this. No, this is before the flood came. The world was different back then. Beelzebufo, big as a cat. Let's see. Fossil cockroaches.
This one is completely BS. This is a thumbnail from that grifter creationist site. There's no such thing as a cockroach that's... Oh no, 3.5 inches long is reasonable. Okay, so he's using the real sizes now. He used to be quoted as saying that this thing was like 10 inches long or something like that. It was really bizarre. But I will say that the cockroaches we have alive today are the biggest cockroaches that have ever lived too, as far as we know from the fossil record. There's no fossils of cockroaches thus far that are larger than the ones that currently exist. But I do appreciate that he's dropped the size down on this, because he used to put it like 11 inches or something like that, 14 inches. Some crazy number, some absolutely massive cockroach.
It's 3.5 inches long. Fossil snakes that are ginormous.
Ooh, yes, let's talk about after the dinosaur extinction event, the Cretaceous, that's what they used to call the Cretaceous Tertiary. Now it's the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. There was this warm period, especially across the equatorial region. It was like crazy warm, like super warm. I don't imagine the air would have been much to breathe for us humans in that area at that time. But it was really good for big reptiles, and there was the dinosaurs had just died out of all these giant megafauna niches, and it was really warm. So all these crocodilians and snakes, turtles. There was a huge turtle that lived in this time too. That was had like a 12-foot shell. It was massive. Lived in these swampy regions of South America. There were giant crocodiles that lived in this area. They just really thrived. South America also started to produce their giant birds very early on in this. They're giant flightless carnivorous birds, because they were an island, so there wasn't a lot of mammal competition either.
Titanoboa, let's see, 42 feet long. Largest vertebrate record for a living snake belongs to the 10-meter long python. Okay, so they were 13 meters. What happened? Fossil bunny rabbits have been found, really big.
And you're going to look at these two organisms and say they're the same? That these are the same kind? Do they look like they fill the same ecological niche to you? Or that they are, their anatomical features are derived? That this is just what this would turn into if it lived for 150 years? Why does its ears shrink? I mean, I guess its ears just don't grow? Some bizarre claims here on the way that rabbit anatomy works. Rabbits do stop growing when they reach a certain age. I guess his claim is that mammals don't stop growing as they age. I don't.
Compared to today's bunny rabbits. That's a big bunny rabbit. Yeah. 14-foot tall camel. Wow.
Fossil
I
camels?
think they don't get that big today, do they? No. How about shark's teeth? Indicate they were huge in the past. Megalodon was not only the largest shark, but the largest fish to ever live, 15 to 18 meters, 3 times longer than the largest recorded great white shark. So how come there were fossil sharks 3 times bigger than today's shark? That's 49 to 59 feet long. Okay. Let's see, shark in shark cider, megalodon.
Okay, so why were there giant sharks? Okay, the last couple of things you talked about, the camels and stuff, that megafauna, there's a lot of speculation on the extinction of megafauna, but there's a few things that impacted that, environmental factors and human hunting. When it comes to megalodon, now this was well before humans were even on the scene. Megalodon lived in a period of time where it was really warm again, and the seas were really shallow. The megatooth sharks their fossil records it's pretty robust. The Totus lineage. There's actually enough, a steady enough fossil record in the Chesapeake Bay of megalodon evolution that we can actually, through the geological column, you can see it switch from one species to another slowly. It's what they call a chronospecies. You can actually watch evolution through the fossil record because they were so abundant in this area. It was in a time where whales were just really starting to get their footing or lose their footing, I guess, as the case may be, right? And becoming a commodity in the aquatic food chain, and big predators were right there to evolve alongside them and eat those tasty whale nuggets.
Well, they're saying up to 50 to 78 feet on this website. Fossil kangaroos, 10 feet tall. Giant.
Yeah, short-faced kangaroos were huge. Massive.
Prehistoric kangaroo compared to modern kangaroos. Kangaroos never stopped growing.
They died out about the same time that humans arrived in Australia. Funny that.
10 giant animals that are long since dead. In Earth's distant past, many animals grew much larger than today, from monster millipedes to titanic sharks. Biggest prehistoric mammals.
Pretty cool. Got some megafauna going on here. I'm down. I love megafauna.
It's not there's no such thing as prehistoric. We have history from day one. You know, in the beginning, God created heaven. There's no such thing as prehistoric. You can throw that word away.
No such thing as prehistoric. In the town of Bedrock, they're a place right out of history.
An Irish elk, 12 foot across the antlers. How'd you deer hunters like to put that on the wall? Yeah.
I think some medieval kings and stuff did. They would like find these in like caves and pits and stuff and hang them up on their wall like they killed them. I think there was one that was like one of the famous ones was like on a Scottish king's wall or something that they discovered and did radiocarbon dating on it. He claimed like his ancestor killed it or something like that. It's been a long time since I read that story, but we'll have to look into it. It's about the Selch, S-E-L-C-H. Just kind of a historical cryptid, which we may cover in CryptoCorner sometime. That'd be cool.
Okay, if you can bring it down. That's the hard part, okay? 12-foot antlers, giant O'Rourke cows, huge, giant thing. How big was the O'Rourke? Let's see.
O'Rourke. It was pretty big.
Modern cattle have become much smaller than their wild ancestors.
Yeah, because we didn't want the big mean ones. We wanted the teamable ones.
I'll stop right there. Do you evolutionists ever stop and think maybe your whole theory is stupid?
We made dogs smaller too. I don't think you would refute that we customized dogs to be smaller to fit into our make them the size we need for our lifestyle, right? It's the same thing with cows, pigs, sheep, and goats. Did you notice that they all stay within about the same parameters with domestic livestock? There's a few outliers, like guinea pigs were domestic livestock that were kind of an outlier, but for the most part, large browsing mammals, between a few hundred and 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
Stupid, because you want to think man started off small like a chimpanzee, and we're getting bigger, better, stronger, smarter. No, everything was much bigger in the past.
Why are we getting big? You think we're bigger and better and stronger than a chimpanzee? And by what parameters? Chimpanzees are much stronger than we are.
Okay, the shoulder height was 15 feet. Let's see, this is a giant rhinoceros. 15 foot to the shoulder.
Ooh, are we claiming that Parasatheriums were like the same kind as modern day rhinos? That's something we could definitely explore. There's a lot of anatomical stuff we'll have to talk about.
Yes, sir. We were smarter back then. And how old are you? 10, and you can figure that out. Hey, all you evolutionists, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. Visit Freddy's kids. They're smarter than you, okay? So, giant rhinoceros, 15 foot.
Oh, definitely Big Bad Mama. I love your videos. They're so hilarious.
7 at the shoulder. Weighed 21 tons, and it was 26 million years ago. No, before the flood came.
Yeah. Let's go back. Let's go back just a second here. No, that's too far ahead. Here he just flashed right through that. Hold on. I don't know why he flashed right through it.
And it was 26 million years ago. No.
Right there. So one of these things is not like the other, am I right? Where do you draw the line on rhinoceros kind? Because there's this big guy here. There's a lot more weird critters like him. They're just showing the one compared to this the rhinoceroses specifically. They're in a larger clade together with the Indrictotheres. And yeah. Anyway, I'm just annoyed that you're showing just that one and then all these rhinos down here. Because these are actually rhinoceroses, except for the Elasmotherium. I think it may have been an outlier. But yeah.
Before the flood came. They just don't get it. I try hard, okay? 18-foot rhinoceros.
Does that look like a rhinoceros to you?
University of Nebraska Museum. Giant birds have been found. Let's see. That's 24-foot wingspan.
Argentavis.
How'd you like to hit that on the windshield about 80 miles an hour? Mm-hmm. That's not the biggest one. Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl was not a bird. Quetzalcoatlus was a pterosaur, an archosaur still, but closer related to a crocodile than a bird, though.
Really, really big. Much bigger than that. Guys, I think you got it all wrong. Crocodiles that were really big. Let's see. 20 foot.
That's a regular crocodile right now. It's low long. Yeah.
3 inches, the record crocodile today. But they find crocodile fossils. I believe this one's 32 feet.
They're not the same. They're not the same. You would not describe this as the same kind. I don't think. Unless your claim is that all crocodilians are the same kind, which is something to unpack because there's marine crocodilians that there's the Rorasuchians. Where do they fall? You'd probably think they were dinosaurs, I guess, even though they're very, very much crocodiles that lived in a dinosaur niche and stood bipedal and filled that large terrestrial carnivore niche. What we have of crocodiles today and what we call crocodiles is just the ones that were managed to hang on through a few massive extinction events. These the aquatic ambush version of a once diverse clade that filled a myriad of terrestrial and aquatic carnivore niches from sea to treetops. There was even treetop crocodiles up until just a few hundred years ago. If you look at some of these islands in the Pacific that clung on till very, very recently.
Much bigger. Fossil tree found. The fossil tree, let's see, was 237 feet long, suggesting the original tree was more than 330 feet tall. That's a big tree. See, before the flood came, people lived longer, everything was bigger. It's a different world. And we cover on video number 2, why? What happened, okay? Let's see, the biggest rat. There are more than 60 species of rat. They might have had a common ancestor called a rat, okay? Typically
Audio
5
seems a little
inches
bit off on
long.
my end.
I see, okay, rat. Current Guinness World Record for centipede is...
Why did you just talk about a rat being about 5 inches long? Did you have a giant rat you wanted to show us, Kent? Because I don't know of any giant rats. You're going to say that there were giant rodents. Sure, there were giant rodents, but they weren't rats.
10 inches. It's a big centipede. You know, they find fossil centipedes, 6 or 7.
That's not a fossil centipede. That's a arthropleura, which is a millipede. Biggest centipedes I think that I've been able to track down are the Galapagos centipedes that's currently in existence now. There are some, Ephobius fossils of dubious origins with a lot of speculation on lengths that exceed that, but not to nothing near the size of a arthropleura. We're talking these centipedes would have been around, if the speculation is true, around like 35 centimeters, 35 to 40 centimeters, just marginally longer than modern centipedes. About as long as my forearm, so about that length, whereas a normal one probably only about that long, like my forearm without my hand, whereas these ones would have been about that long. But that's all even speculative because we don't even know for sure whether the fossils that we have are actually centipedes. They could be from something else. There's been speculation on that, but I'll talk about that when we get more fossils on it.
Feet long? You atheists ever stop and think maybe you've been brainwashed to believe in something stupid? And you have. And I'll help, okay? Okay. Let's see. Giant centipedes have been found. Let's see. Modern centipedes measure a distant relative of modern centipedes. These centipedes measure 3, maybe 10 feet long.
They're not centipedes. It even says a relative of millipedes and centipedes. Actually, this is probably somewhat dated because the arthropod is nested within the millipedes now. So it's in diploda, like within diploda, everything, all the anatomy has been confirmed that says, hey, this should be in diploda, so it is.
They grew so large because of the high concentration of oxygen. Oh, we covered that on video number 2. The world was different before the flood. Greater oxygen concentration, probably 32%. Greater air pressure. That's why giant birds and insects could fly. Yeah, you need to watch my video series. Okay, let's see.
Giant birds and insects could fly because air pressure was different in those days. My. That means physics would have been different, I guess, because, yeah, the mass of the planet should be the same, right? And the draw of the gravity to pull the gases towards the center mass would have been this, at least marginally the same. I guess the Earth has taken on a little bit more mass since, right? I mean, we get a showering of debris regularly, but I don't think enough to seriously cause any fluctuation in the way the air pressure is distributed. Prove me wrong, of course, if you feel that you can't.
Not only were people bigger, insects bigger, fish were bigger, everything was bigger. Giant centipedes, giant cockroaches have been found.
There were not giant centipedes, at least not anything confirmed that it's any bigger than like maybe 10% bigger than. And again, the fossils are dubious. The biggest confirmed centipedes are alive now. The biggest confirmed cockroaches are alive now. I don't even know of any fossils that they speculate that are bigger than modern cockroaches. I don't think that that's a thing.
Wow, giant grasshoppers, 2 feet long.
Where? There's no grasshoppers that are 2 feet long. No, that's false. You're lying. That's not a thing that exists.
Bring them home for dinner. Giant fossil tarantula.
That's not a tarantula. That's a eurypterid, which is a, I guess what you'd call a sea scorpion in layman's terms, but it's not a spider. It's no more closely related to a spider than it is to a horseshoe crab.
That's a big spider, guys. Big
spider.
Fossil cattails, 60 feet tall, have been found. Fossil donkey, 9 feet high at the shoulder. Giant sloths. So ants were bigger. Everything was bigger before the flood. This is not millions of years ago. There's no such thing as prehistoric.
How did we get off on that tangent? Let's get back to the ants, for fuck's sake.
It's pre-flood. 20 quadrillion ants in the world. That's a lot. How many ants? 20 quadrillion ants is 12 megatons of carbon. That exceeds the biomass of all wild ant mammals and birds combined. The combined biomass of ants is the equivalent of 20% of all human biomass. All the humans together. All the ants would weigh as much as 1/5 of all the humans. I've seen some pretty big humans. Let's see. How do ant colonies function? Ants are one of the most successful groups of...
Here's where he's going to talk about ant reproductive biology. Let's explore.
Animals in the world. Live in colonies with strict hierarchy. The colony is led by a single queen, whose responsibility is to mate and lay eggs. That's all she does. Queens usually have wings and are larger than other ants in the colony. A queen ant can live over 20 years. Woo. Worker ants, all of which are female. Well, didn't Solomon say that 3,000 years ago?
Yeah, like I said, there was... I can't imagine that they didn't spend a lot of time looking at ants and stuff when they were... and then they'd share their information with each other when they tell stories and probably parables about ants and how they reproduce and what they saw when they watched the ants and things like that. Sure.
Male ants, known as drones. Drones mate with the newly emerged queens. A drone may only live live for a week, dies after mating. The mated queen then establishes.
Drones are pretty useless. Drones are sperm donors. They don't contribute any work or anything. They just consume food and then produce semen.
Establishes a new colony. Harvester ants get their common name from their behavior of harvesting seeds as their primary food source. They are concerned in urban settings because of their stings. Let's see. There are 22 species of harvester ants. And Randy, I started off on this one, and it took me all over the place. You kept me up half the night, Randy.
Yeah, harvester ant is the name harvester ant is paraphrased.
There's a harvester ant up close, I believe. Harvester ants mounds are large in size depending on the species. Typically, large areas surrounding the mounds are stripped of vegetation to prevent shading. Harvester ants usually remain within the nest during the hardest part of the day. They exhibit 2 foraging patterns. Okay, you can read about all that. They prefer seeds. They will also feed on insects. Some harvester ants move their nest in response to changing climate. The nest can be 3 feet deep. There is a single queen in each colony that is relatively long-lived. Florida harvester queen ants have been recorded to live 17 years. And let's see, the Idaho harvester has an average of 17, but have lived up to 30. Who on earth watched an ant for 30 years? Does she?
Solomon.
Be a government grant on that one. Okay, let's see. How many eggs does a queen ant lay? Let's see, a whole bunch. Queen ant start off laying 75 to 100 eggs a day. Let's see. Although queen ants have been recorded to live as long as 65 years. Now hold it. A queen ant can live 30 years and lay millions of eggs in her lifetime. But wait. There's much more to the story. I would like the evolutionist to explain. She mates one time.
Right.
And lays eggs for 30 years.
Lots of organisms that retain
maybe some teacher in high school or college that taught you evolution either lied to you or passed on the lie that somebody told them.
It's pretty standard.
Are you even willing to reconsider your religion of evolution?
Part of reproductive
Only queens have the ability to mate, reproduce, and lay eggs. The entire colony preoccupied with the queen and her eggs requirements. They are constantly ants working to find food for the queen and her eggs. When the eggs hatch, they transform into larvae, which require particular nourishment. The queen never mates again after she has mated. Queen ants and male ants both lose their wings after mating. The queen dashes out in quest of a suitable location for her new nest. If she lives, she constructs an...
She usually flies. She'll do what they call a nuptial flight. If she mates before she leaves, then she'll lay some fertile eggs that'll produce offspring, and she'll start a new colony. If she doesn't get to mate before she has to fly, then she'll lay some eggs that hatch into males that are worthless, and she will die.
A nest, lays eggs, and raises her first brood of workers entirely on her own. Let's see. So, first time she lays about 20 to 30 eggs, and within probably 8 or 10 days, they hatch and are ready to help her. How many of you have kids? Were they ready to do something around the house when they're 10 days old? Yeah. When ants hatch from their egg sac, they're called larvae. Let's see. The larvae stay in the egg about 10 days before hatching out to become 6-legged worker ants that care for the colony's needs. The freshly mated queen lays a cluster of around a dozen eggs. The larvae are fed by the queen, and they hatch.
They're usually more fed by a specific caste of ants that will nourish them to a specific developmental path.
7 to 10 days later, a queen who worker ants feed can lay up,
including a replacement queen if they need one,
to 800 eggs each day.
Why can't? Because AJ said, "Hey, Kent called you out about our this video was a call out or whatever because it's about bugs."
Hey, wow! The queen, the mother of all ants, she lays eggs that will become larvae and grow into worker ants. Okay, what do ant eggs look like? There you go. Okay, how long does it take an egg to hatch? Around 12 days. All right. How many eggs can a queen ant lay in a lifetime? Oh, let's see, 800 to 1,000 a day. For 30 years? Much. Yeah.
Okay.
So this virgin queen ant just happens to have wings to mate with a virgin male drone who also happens to have wings and dies after mating. And he gives her enough sperm on this first flight to last her a lifetime. And she stores the sperm in a special pouch and fertilizes 1,000 eggs every day for 20 years from that pouch. And all this happened by chance. Evolutionists, look at me. Can you please give a scientific answer?
No, you just explained that there's selection going on, that they're picking mates. I was just telling you a second ago about, hey, this Gen 1 of worker class of worker class ants are going to from the very first generation are going to be able to replace the queen if they find that she is defective. They will immediately start brooding one of the one of the other eggs to replace her. Yeah, it should be nuptial. It's just a typo, though. I'm not
for how this amazing ability evolved. Did she develop the pouch before she had the eggs to put in it? Or did she have all these eggs and say, wow, I got to get a pouch. What do I do with this? For millions of years.
Just slowly over generations became more and more efficient. This is, they usually talk about birds and bees, but birds and ants about the way that these different clades developed into different directions and different ways to share their gametes and manipulate the offspring's development.
They all died, didn't they? How do they know? How do they have the equipment? Are you crazy? How do they have the equipment to mate? Mr. T says, you one crazy fool if you believe in evolution. Yeah. The female digestive or reproductive tract is stunning in its complexity, as is the male's. You evolutionists really believe these complex reproductive organs, which are really small, you know how small an ant is? The reproductive part's even smaller. It's got to fit inside, okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah, really prolific. Queen's going to lay what?
Because it's really small. It's not small to the ants, babe. They're fine. They're not like, oh, I can't see your hoo-hoo. Just sticking in my pee-pee. They're not doing that. It's like normal size to them. They're not humans.
4 or 5 million eggs in her lifetime? You think that just evolved with no designer over billions of years? Are you out of your mind? Have you gone nuts? Oh, yeah, okay. These first-time lovers, they've never...
Oh, yeah, when it comes, Richard Manson, when it comes to ants, and the Bible quotes that pertain to ants, I'm not saying that they are wrong. I'm just saying that it doesn't mean... It doesn't disprove evolution that someone was able to observe and make commentary on the lifestyle of and the life cycles of ants.
Never mated before. They just hatched themselves, got wings. Oh, what are these for? They know how to fly. Who taught them to fly? Did they go to flight school? No, they know how to fly and know how to mate in the air while they're flying. First time. Mm-hmm. They have all the perfect...
That's like saying you know how to blink. Did someone teach you how to blink, Kent? Did somebody teach you how to blink your eyes? Your eyes naturally blink to keep dust particles out of them. Did someone teach you how to do that? Did someone teach you how to make a sucking motion with your mouth? Who taught you how to do that? How did you even get your bottle or I don't know if you were breastfed or bottle fed, but either way, who taught you how to suck? It's for frick's sake, these are just innate biological responses to the environment around you.
Equipment to produce sperm, produce eggs, have a storage pouch ready, and are able to line up this equipment and transfer sperm while flying. Let's say you do that, okay? Then he dies, and she sheds her wings, finds a nesting spot, and all this happened by chance. Mm-hmm. You really expect me to believe that? Do you really think you're smart for believing that? Evolutionist, you have answered none of the questions in this whole series. I'm about ready for some answers. Come on. If you want to call Standing for Truth, we'll have a debate. How did this evolve? What? Are you crazy? They got to be nuts. The Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways. All the worker ants are female. Solomon knew that 1000 BC. Her ways, gathereth her food. So, Romans chapter 1 says, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, God has showed it to them. You know there's a God. You can deny it all you want, but down deep, you know. When you get alone...
Ew, I hate that argument. Don't you guys? Oh, you know God's real. You just... Well, you deny it in your unrighteousness.
And the TV's off and the radio's off and you got quiet and you're laying down and you can finally think for a minute, you know, don't you? There's a God, and it ain't you. For the invisible things of him, God, from the creation of the world are clearly seen. You can clearly see there had to be a designer. Look at these critters, look at these ants. There had to be a designer. If I said, nobody designed this ink pen, you'd think I'm nuts. This had a designer. A screw, a nail had a designer. A thumbtack had a designer. But you think an ant did not. What else can I say? Really, is it me? Are they nuts? Am I nuttier than squirrel? I like that. Okay. Bible says they are without excuse.
Ahoy,
when you stand before the God
Jeff.
You don't believe in.
Thank you
so
for
I'll follow the
by.
science. He's going to say, look at the ant, you simpleton. You really thought you followed the science? Okay. Where's the science for how the ant evolved the ability to make babies.
You just
When
showed
they knew
some.
God glorified him not as God, but
Can't you just showed some fossils of the of ants that were different than modern ones, like early on development of the clade. So you already answered that yourself with your slide.
were vain in their imaginations and their foolish heart was darkened, professing themselves to be wise. Oh boy, do they do that. They really think they're smart. Yeah. And change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man and birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore, God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own heart, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Verse 28, even as they did not...
Natural use? Women change their natural use. What is a woman's use? Anybody know what a woman's use is? What the Bible means by a woman's use? How do you use a woman? Doesn't seem like a woman should be something you use. Shouldn't use anybody.
Like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over. He gave them up, he gave them up, he gave them over. To a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. Proverbs. There are 4 things which are little upon the earth. They're exceeding wise. Ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their meat in the summer. How do the ants...
Oh, Bible says ants are people. Ants are people. It's official. Proverbs 30, verse 25. Ants are a people.
Snow to work hard all summer to save up food to survive the winter. How do they know? Have they ever seen a winter before? Do they have any clue what winter is? They're born out of an egg along with millions of others. You think that they have school where the queen teaches them something? She's busy laying eggs all day long, 1,000 a day.
The queen doesn't do anything besides lay eggs. That's exactly right. She lays eggs and eats. There's a whole caste that tend to the eggs and take care of them and develop them and clean them and get them ready for school and tie their shoes. Not really, but yeah, they perform the nanny duty.
You try that. But they're smart enough to just know, hey, gather food. Who taught them that? Did that evolve? The Bible says it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this, the judgment. Are you preparing for when you die? They prepare for the winter.
Why would I prepare for when I'm dying? Right now I'm preparing for when I'm living. I don't need anything when I die. I'm dead. I want to prepare other people in my life for when I die, but not me. I mean, what am I going to do? Pre-embalm myself? It's like, oh, I'm having a heart attack and inject myself some embalming fluid. How am I preparing myself to die? This means me getting my financial affairs in order and things like that, but I don't know.
The ants are people not wise, but they prepare for what's coming. I would highly recommend you prepare for what's coming. I'm going to die one day. I'm going to make it the last thing I do, but it's going to happen. Are you prepared for yours? He brought him out, said, sirs, what must I do to be saved? What do you have to do to be saved? Simple. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Your death doesn't have to be the last thing you do, though. There's all sorts of things that you can do for future dates to impact the world beyond your actual death. So there are going to be things, hundreds, maybe even thousands of years that you can do as an individual well past your death.
And thou shalt be saved. It's that simple. Today, where would you go? Smoking or non-smoking? You're going to be dead for a long time. Might want to pack a lunch for that trip. Okay. God's not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us. We're not willing that any should perish. God doesn't want anybody to go to hell. But if you insist, okay. What would you like him to do other than he's given you an amazing creation? You can look at an ant and realize, wow, there's a God, and he is smart. You can look at an eagle flying through the air and say, wow, there must be a God. You can look at Grand Canyon and say, wow, there must have been a flood. You can see all the layers of the earth. There's a sea.
What about Grand Canyon says that there's a flood? I've never understood that argument.
Coal they found 650 feet thick. Coal. I think that maybe there was a flood, like Noah's flood. Yeah. You could look at the real evidence and come away saying...
So the coal is actually evidence against a flood because the coal layers are divided. There's layers of sediment above and below and above and below these coal seams. How's that work in a flood in a flood model?
And wow, the Bible's true. And it is. God's not willing that any should perish, but if you want to go to hell, that's your business.
It's like he doesn't know how the basic mechanics of a river works, Sandy. That's all I can think.
Good day. To be sure, you're saved and going to heaven. Where are you going? All you atheists, I know you haven't answered any of my questions, and I know why, which is why I'm doing the series, to try to wake you up. There's a God. He made the world, wrote a book, told us how he did it. He preserved that book for us for today. And you're a sinner, you've broken his laws, and you're going to hell unless you get him to forgive you.
I don't.
He wants to. And I'm trying to tell you.
I don't believe that he has any laws. I don't believe he's real. What laws? How can I break imaginary laws from an imaginary lawgiver?
A messenger boy, telegram, Mr. Atheist, telegram. The Lord loves you. He wants you to come to heaven. You get it out there.
He loves me so much he's going to torture me for not loving him back?
Okay. Go to hell then.
Gross.
That's what we can do.
Toxic.
Right. Any questions? Questions or comments, Randy?
No, we're done. Freaking, that dude sounds toxic. I don't want him in my life. Do you want him in your life? Do you think that Kent knows about ant reproduction? Did you learn anything about ant reproduction from Kent? I didn't, but I mean, most of the stuff that he said there about ants was like right and true. But the incredulity that he's attaching to the function is not. I kind of feel like this was just retreading the same old ground, but he wants to claim that nobody's answering these. I can definitely answer these. I did a big preamble rant, and I just did a video response to it. So, yeah, feel free to slap back, Mr. Hovind. But I think that we've pretty well covered what you needed, or what you were wanting regarding the evolution of ants and their development. If there's any other questions you have, I definitely right down there in the comments section. I went into great detail about their reproduction today, more so than I meant to, and